A small section of HMS Queen Elizabeth nearly fills the vast shipbuilding hall at Portsmouth Naval Base. The 6,000-ton block is nearing completion, while in the shadow of the decommissioned Ark Royal, two smaller sections are readied for transport to final assembly at Rosyth.
Basically, over the next day, 24 hours, we'll be sea fastening the unit down. The sea fastening really ensures that it stays in the position that it should while it's at sea, given any bad weather or just general sea transit.
Inside, the Queen Elizabeth is largely fitted out. So this is the bridge then?
Yeah, this is the bridge of Queen Elizabeth carrier. As you can see here already, we've got installed the bridge consoles already installed in here.
The bill, though, has soared from less than £3 billion for two ships to an official and rather optimistic estimate of £6.2 billion for a single carrier, compatible with the plane that'll replace the Harrier. At the heart of the matter, indecision about whether to buy jump jets or catapult-launched planes. Yesterday, MPs on the Public Accounts Committee lambasted the MOD's top civil servant.
A massive amount of totally, torn up pound notes.
Not, the shipbuilders say, their fault.
Here in Portsmouth, the sections that we're delivering are both on cost and schedule.
The first of the carriers, HMS Queen Elizabeth, is already largely built. It means that adding catapults and arrestor gear will have to be done at a later date, cutting the ship apart once it's already finished. The second in class, HMS Prince of Wales, is also already under construction. That means that any decision about changing the fundamental design to add catapults and arrestor gear needs to be taken sooner rather than later. As it stands then, the Queen Elizabeth will be mothballed once completed. But that could all change if the government performs a widely heralded U-turn and goes back to planes that could land on her. Will Inglis, Forces News, Portsmouth.
Well, earlier today I spoke to Rear Admiral Chris Parry, a former commander of the UK's Amphibious Task Force and also the former Director General of Joint Concepts and Doctrines at the MOD. I asked him what he made of all this uncertainty surrounding the carriers and the jets that will fly from them.
Well, I think everybody accepts that the decision-making process with regard to the new carriers has been chaotic. I think part of the problem lies in that there isn't a concept for the carriers, so there's no benchmark against which people can establish criteria. Secondly, the Ministry of Defence, there's a high turnover of personnel. It's called churn. So people in decision-making positions change every 2 years. And this is a strategic project, and we need to engage people strategically if we're going to make any sense out of it.
Given your own personal experience of working within the MOD, are you surprised at all this?
Well, I'm surprised that it's gone on for so long. It's fair to say that this government inherited from the previous government a programme that was running well over cost. There was no concept to support how the carriers would operate and no real idea about what type of aircraft were required. I would have hoped, though, that somebody would have conducted a root and branch operational audit of this capability and we would have some pretty firm answers by now.
Just to pose you the $64,000 question, which version of the jet would you go for?
I have to say, when I did the original operational analysis when I worked in the Ministry of Defence, there is no question that we need the version that has catapults and arrestor wires. Its payload is much greater and so is its range and endurance. And I think, again, the Navy and the country will be short-changing itself if it doesn't go for that version. It also means that we can have a greater variety of present and future aircraft on those carriers. I mean, even if we don't go for either version of the F-35, there is an aircraft today. It's called the Super Hornet, the F-18. It's used by the Americans. Wouldn't it be a great idea in the meantime if we leased 2 squadrons of those F-18 Super Hornets? We had one for training and conversion in the UK, and we had one other permanently embarked in an American carrier until we can get the F-35s into service. In that way, our pilots, our ground crews and all our deck crews could remain pretty much front line, and we'd be doing a political service for the United States, demonstrating solidarity and keeping our fixed-wing aviation skills alive.